All right. So
Cool.
let's start with this. Before we started working together, yeah, I'd love to hear more about what were you struggling with most in body and life. Yeah, we could
Yeah.
just start with that.
Yeah. So we started in 25, right? 2025, January.
Yes.
So I had my son at the end of 2021, and I shortly after hurt my back. And so I'm a I use Instagram as a platform for learning things. And so I had tried um, to do some workouts that an individual from that I found on Instagram did that was very postpartum related. And it was good, don't get me wrong. That was really helpful for core work and things like that. But the nagging back injury like continued to bother me while I did those workouts. And that was really concerning to me because I was like, well, if I can't even do these very basic movements, how am I ever going to get stronger? It would bother me while I did them. It would bother me after. My back would bother me in my daily life, just doing daily things. And so I was really struggling with all of that. And it was getting to the point of like, the physical therapy in town and the multiple physical therapy rounds that I did were not improving things. The massage therapy was not improving things. Chiropractic work was not improving things. And it was just time to like really put the investment in myself to get better. Because I was not going to be a functioning human or a good mom if I was continuing to be feeling the pain that I had around carrying my son, around doing housework. It was just really hard to function and be like a happy person. You know how pain impacts your mood. And so I had been a lurker for a little while, and I because I found you on Instagram, and so I just was like, as you scroll and go through stories every night before bed, it's like a lot of what this person is saying is really resonating and jives with what I know, but also like challenges what I know a little bit too, and how challenges how I feel a little bit. And so um I knew it was going to be an investment, right? I knew I was going to be spending time and money, but the goal was to be better. And that's when I decided to do your intro call and just see like did we jive? Because I live in the middle of nowhere. There's not there's a gym in town, but like I don't have the options to like meet with someone in person. So like I really had to go the virtual route because like I said, the options that I was using in town were not getting me anywhere. And so I needed to take the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you. Tell me
Mhm.
more about, I know you just mentioned resonating with some of my content and maybe some things like really spoke to you because it kind of related to your experience, but then other things kind of challenged it. So I guess I'm curious from a content or like, I don't know if
Like
you
what
can
that
recall, what sort of
yeah.
thing kind of spoke to you.
I think it was just along the lines of like and we kind of talked about it more as I got into training with you, but like you're not broken. I was an athlete for a long time, and I think I've kind of forgotten about how some of that feels when you are doing things, but also like pain is so complicated. And like you kind of started teasing that apart for me a little bit of like, hey, you've been in this cycle for so long, your brain is really perceiving pain, not to like discount pain, but like that's an automatic response now in a lot of respects because that's all your body is known for 2.5 whatever years that this has been going on. And like um how like your MRI does not define you. Even though I mean, and even in my case, like my MRI is really not even that bad. So, like it's a complicated thing, and just like the whole concept around building capacity too was also something that I was like, oh, that like it makes sense, but it's not something that I would have necessarily thought of on my own. You just brought some good perspective to pain management that even having gone to like pain management and not getting what I needed from them either, like it was all very refreshing and like I said, like jived with the line of thinking that I had about how to get better, but also like built on that and challenged some of what I was thinking I needed to do. So
Yeah. Cool. No, thank you. That's actually very helpful for my knowledge.
yeah,
Um, so tell me more about, okay, from obviously kind of before how you've thought about like maybe exercise and movement and being an athlete, like I guess I'm curious to hear more just about how the relationship has shifted now, like before and currently
yeah,
now working together.
yeah. I would say that I like once I stopped playing sports, like I was not very active or doing much, like I spent much of my 20s doing things, but not spending time in the gym or running or anything that you would probably stick in the normal exercise realm. But um I knew that when I was having kids that I needed to be strong to one carry the weight of a growing child around. My 4-year-old still wants to be held. I need to be strong enough to carry his 35 pounds around. And just like the toll that pregnancy takes on the body and just longevity, I see now the value of continuing to be um, in like routine workouts of some sort moving forward, just for the sake of longevity and bone density and all of the things, the mental the mental side of things that helps me too. But yeah, I like left sports and left all of that in that era of my life and just like floated for a long time until my body started to really not necessarily fail me, but kind of and realize that, oh, this is really a priority that I need to do this for myself and for my future.
Hmm. Yeah. So maybe it's less from you know, like sports are obviously like useful and fun and all the things,
Right,
but
fun.
there's
Yes,
there's a
fun.
yeah, fun, maybe fun's the right word. But now it sounds like there's an element of like, yeah, just like health, whether that's physical, whether that's mental, that's just like life, parenthood, like yeah,
Yeah,
longevity. So there's very much a different sort of like relationship, I guess, to all of this now
right,
that
right. Yeah.
yeah, it's just
I
different maybe from like the 20s. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think I see like different results now too. Like I know for a long time that like shoulders from volleyball have been a problem for me for since I can remember teens. And I know now looking at my back and the strength that I have there that that has improved drastically. And that to me is just mind blowing. And I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had put the time in sooner, right? Because I probably would have felt way better just in that part of my body in my 20s. And that's part of why I like left all that behind was because like my body was breaking down from all of the hard time that I'd put into sports. And I just like, maybe if I just rest, it'll get better. Joke's on you. That's not how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me more about like what do you think we did together that is like that created that sort of result for you? Can you speak to that a little
um,
bit?
well, I think just like programming wise, like I think you've done a very good job of like here's the goal and like let's take some steps to get there. And I don't have any idea how I would do that on my own because besides what I did in high school and in, college years, like I really don't know what movements do what for what parts of the body. Like I know the basic movements, but I don't know what groups they're necessarily working on. So if I wanted some part of my body to be different, I don't necessarily know what I would need to do to get there. So that guidance was really helpful because you're targeting what I need. That takes that part of the equation out for me.
Yeah. It's like you don't have to be the exercise programmer, science
Right.
nerd,
Right.
I guess, to really
Right. Somebody
understand
else does
how.
that for me. You went to school and have the education in that. Like
Yeah,
let's let you do that. And
good.
that I think has been really helpful because some of the because for me I get bored doing stuff too. Like if all I did were deadlifts and squats every day, all day, like that would get really old after a while. And so just like the different options within deadlifts and different tempo stuff, like you bring a lot of like freshness to things every time we change it up, but we're not like really changing a whole lot. Like the still basic mechanics are all still there. We're just maybe doing it a little bit different every time we change the rounds. So that I think is helpful for my mind to stay in it too and just keep it fresh. Everybody likes to stay interested. So that helps me get motivated to get out of bed in the morning because I'm excited to go do it.
That's awesome.
I forget what your real question was there now. What were we
Yeah.
talking about?
No,
Like
that's
what?
okay. No, I think you answered that actually pretty well. Just like it sounds like the combination of obviously some level of expertise with yeah, being able to kind of connect the dots for you in the sense of like, all right, if this is the result that you want, yeah, like what is the actual step by step to actually get there? And that includes, right, different exercises, the combinations of things, the tempos, the, sort of progressions of those things. So no, I think yeah, you did a good job answering that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so I'm curious to hear, just like, okay, working together more from a virtual side of things. Yeah, were you skeptical about doing this remotely, virtually at all?
Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit. Maybe a little bit. Like again, I don't have an option to go to a gym and hire somebody to help me. Like it's not I live in too small of a town. I'm not gonna go drive an hour to go do that. So I'm really just limited in what happens here. But even if I had that option, I think I still would go this route because personally, I'm like a very self-conscious person when it comes to the gym. And I would feel very self-conscious if me and a coach were in a gym and there were a whole bunch of other people also working out. Because not only is my coach judging me on how I'm doing movements, I then have the entire room watching how my coach is judging me on my movements. And that probably would be a little too much for me, to be honest. And so like me personally, I don't think I need a lot of training in like how to do a movement because I've got some of that foundation from my earlier sport days. So like I know how to do most of these movements. And if I have questions, if I send you a video, I'll hear from you before I get to that again. And then I'll have a better idea of how to be doing it. You can give me keywords to help with the movement. That's maybe not the right word to say, but like, you give good cues on how to better move through it. And that is always very helpful. And you have videos attached in the program, so you can watch somebody else do the movement. And for me, that's usually enough to help me through that. So if you're a visual person, I don't see any problems with that, the way everything's been set up. I like it. It's worked really well for me. Anytime I've had a hiccup, it's either we work through it in our monthly get together, or like I said, I'm like, hey, how does this video look? And you're like, hey, try, like overhead things, try to think about pushing it back further instead of, you think you're over your shoulder, but you're not. So like just like little keywords are very helpful from you.
Great. Anything about the process and whether this is like programming through the app or us meeting virtually, communicating, that sort of thing. Anything that surprised you the most that sort of process?
Um, I don't think so because like the platform I had done before, when I was doing some of my postpartum work was kind of similar. They were a lot more hands-off coaching wise. But in that realm, I could message people about the back pain I was having or movements or whatever, and they would message me back. One of the coaches would message me back with thoughts on how to do something different or modifications or whatever. So I was kind of already used to that chat kind of feature. And so that wasn't really anything I was worried about. I knew as long as I was communicative that it would work,
Hmm.
right? Like if I don't tell you that something's wrong or that something doesn't feel right or I don't like some of the programming or whatever, like you're not gonna know how to fix it or that it even needs to be fixed. So I just told myself that if I was gonna do this, I was going to give you probably more information than you wanted, but until we got to a point where it was comfortable and that I knew how you would respond to things that I sent. I was just gonna dump like this is how this one went. This is how today went. This is how this movement felt. This is how 2 days ago felt. Like the more I don't talk like that to you now, but in the beginning until we got to know each other, that felt appropriate,
Hmm.
and that way I knew you knew what was going on.
Yeah.
How I felt.
Yeah. Cool. No, and I'm glad that like the process sort of like allowed for that
Yeah,
change to happen. Yeah, I think that happens with a lot of people I work with. I'd say probably more often than not. Yeah, there's maybe more. Yeah, again, it's all new. It's all, yeah, we're still trying to figure things out and put the pieces together. So I think it requires maybe more communication and elaboration on, yeah, elaboration, yeah, collab, just on everything. And then I think,
right,
as we get to know each other more and we just kind of keep reiterating that, then I think it just, yeah, I think naturally, I think it just kind of starts to sort of refine. So,
right.
and I think that's a good thing because I think it sounds like too, perhaps that creates an element of like, yeah, like it doesn't, like obviously I'm here for support, I'm here for guidance, but like you've become a little bit more self independent, I guess, in this
Yeah.
process too. Um, so I guess with that, like, yeah, I guess how does it feel to have that support, without being like micromanaged in a way or like without having, yeah, like maybe in person stuff too, like people are sort of like correcting you every perhaps like second.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, curious to hear just like thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I think for me it took a little while to like trust the process because of like starting with you, like the pain just didn't magically disappear, right? Like it was still there and still very much there, and actually probably was a little worse before it got better, right? Like that's looking back on it to be expected, right? But in the moment, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting worse. Like, was this a really bad choice? This isn't what my body needs? Like, you start self-doubting about everything because, I think there was a period of time there where like it hurt when I worked out, it hurt in my daily life, it hurt when I laid down, and like we had to find that middle ground to start with, right? Like you had to figure out where I was in my journey to match the programming to maybe where I was. And so like that just took some time. And I don't think it took that much time to be honest with you, but eventually got to the point where, oh, it doesn't hurt me when I'm working out, but maybe still doing some house chores still bothers me. But I am starting to learn when to like take appropriate breaks or like take it easier. Like and then eventually we get to the point where, oh, the chores don't bother me and the workout doesn't bother me, and now we're living the dream. So, like, I think it took a while to trust the process. And I think, like, even in the 6 months that we worked together, like, there was a ton of progress that was made. And, and in the year, like, it's crazy. And to think that in the first 2 months, I maybe was like, this isn't a good idea. Like, just stay the course and trust the process and see where it takes you. because I all the time just think about that first call that we had together, and you're like, okay, so try this, and I can't even remember what it was anymore, and I was like, Shannon, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. And you're like, I'll just give it a try. Like, let's just see what happens. And I was like, holy shit, I can do that. I can do that. It wasn't pretty, but I can do that. And you just got to a point of not trusting your body anymore, and you're way more capable than you give yourself credit for usually, and definitely have realized that
Yeah.
and have
Wow.
embraced that.
That's
I don't know
awesome.
if that answered that question either. I feel like it did.
No, I think like perhaps, right, it's a different sort of and maybe somewhat even like counterintuitive, right, sort of process in a way where I think especially if you are coming from a place of yeah, like this has been plaguing you for a really, really long time and we just want this thing to just like go away and solve everything and we just want results really fast. And so I think your willingness to sort of like keep going even in the moments of like self-doubt and maybe in combination with just kind of like hopefully me yeah, maybe setting up those expectations too that like, yeah, this isn't obviously going to just like magically, just start trending this way. Like sometimes it is a little bit of like a dip before you actually sort of like springboard. Um, and maybe that sort of again process and I don't know, environment that you kind of like put yourself into. Um, yeah, what's okay, maybe I'm gonna backtrack here. So maybe the idea is like if you knew these things were gonna get you stronger and better, like eventually, or I'm sorry, you knew these things were going to get you stronger, more mobile, all the things, but like the pain was going to be the thing to kind of go away last. Like, would you still take that trade-off?
Yeah. I mean, I know knowing what I know now,
Yeah,
100%,
yeah,
right? Uh,
definitely.
because it's like you always say, pain is so complicated. Um, your nervous system is so complicated. And like really it's nothing is a quick fix when it comes to fixing your body. It really isn't. It takes a millisecond to change things, but to change them back, it takes time, it takes effort. And I think not everybody is probably as driven and motivated to see results either. Um, I don't know, for me, like the workouts have been like the carrot for me because once I found out the time of day and my scheduling, like when where to put it so that I had that time to like devote to it. Like I said, who's excited to get out of bed at 5:30 in the morning? Like most days I'm like, yes, let's go down, let's do this, let's spend my 30 minutes of time making myself feel better, and the rest of the day just like benefits from that time. So I might feel physically tired, but that mental aspect from that workout is really important to me now, almost equally as much as the physical component. Um, and I would have never expected that. But, there's the trusting the process thing, like there's such a mental change that has to happen with all of this too that I think everybody always forgets about. And not to say that your pain is mental, but some of what is happening in your brain needs to be like retrained a little bit to help you see through the pain to see to your goal. And that just takes time. And I think a lot of people don't want to spend the time to get it to where to feel how they need to feel, because the carrot, they got to find the right carrot, right? What
Mhm.
is your motivation for doing it? And I think some people lose that after a while. And only doing it for 2 months for me would not have gotten me anywhere probably at that point. And if I would have gave up, I would hate to think what things would be like now, but to just trust that you knew what you were doing, trust in what you were telling me, trust the process. we're still getting green lights, so let's keep going, like it's gonna be fine. Um, that was, I think, what helped me the most was just like hanging on to Shannon for dear life that she knew what was going on because I was having a hard time seeing the end of the tunnel
Yeah.
while in the thick of it. So
Hmm.
that like I said, I don't know how everybody else is motivated, but I think once people can find what that is, that's probably the best thing you can do for yourself to like stay in it for the long haul because you have to be in it for the long haul.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think I always have to remember, at the end of the day, like, if you gave people two options, like take this pill and like everything is just going to be fine and dandy, like I think even knowing that there's this stuff on the other side of like, right, strength and training and exercise that obviously has a little bit more of a delayed, response that isn't as fast. I think most often people are going to take the quicker option, you know what I mean? So
We're just wired that way, I think,
I think that is just like normal human sort of psychology. So again, I think it really speaks volumes when you can really be okay with, sort of failing a little bit maybe in the beginning, but yeah, like the payoff is still going to be so much greater, like on the back end. And maybe, yes, there's a little bit of a blind sort of trusting, I guess, with that a
Yes.
little bit. That I really like do thank you for that. Because that's just awesome. Like, you don't even know if this is going to work out. And you're like, well,
I've,
I'm just
I've
going to
never
keep
met
going
this lady
anyway.
before, and she knows nothing about me or my situation besides what I've told her, but I'm gonna just trust that she knows what she's doing.
Do it. Yeah, right, right. And I think again, that probably just comes from like, yeah, you just don't like you don't have like the knowledge and the sort of like expertise that like, right, I spent all of my time doing this. So of course, I think for someone on the opposite side, it's gonna feel like what is going on? Like, I don't know what all of this is gonna turn out to be. But no, I think it's just awesome that like you were really willing to I think again, I got the impression even from you, like you were willing to put in like the time and the effort and like, the energy that this, kind of requires. And I do think, hey, like at the end of the day, yeah, in order to really change your physiology, right? Like that has to come from, yeah, like the energy and the effort that you're putting in. And maybe what I'm just trying to do is making sure those actual actions and energies and efforts are like not being misled. Like, because I think there's a difference just between like doing more, but without a ton of like intention or without a ton of strategy. And I think perhaps that was kind of just like the process too. It's like we have to go through sort of this iteration of like, what's working, what's not working, how do we track this stuff, how do we just collect more of the data so that we can make better decisions. Yeah, and I think like your willingness to sort of like keep going even in the face of some sort of obstacle and challenge and flare up, I think again I think you're learning like how to live in your own body, and that really has to come from like you kind of messing it up a little bit in order to, sort of get better at that.
Right, right. Yeah, I think back to just like recently the shoulder thing that was going on, and it makes sense that that shoulder still has its hiccups once in a while because it's been through a lot. But one, it's crazy to me to think that like my shoulder is the thing that's bothering me the most, and it's not actually my back. So like that's incredible. But like thinking about that one day I was sitting on the couch and I was like, I'm gonna have to go to the doctor because I feel like I tore something. And it was like, didn't, it wasn't necessarily workout related why it had flared, I'm sure. It probably didn't help. But like it just decided that it wanted to have a day. And we just took it easy. I don't think I skipped it. Maybe I skipped one workout. I really didn't skip anything. And it was just that was a mentality that I did not come in with. Like that's something that I grew after having worked with you because I would have just been like, nope, taking a week off. I'm just not going to do anything to make it upset anymore. And now it's like, well, let's just try and see what it's okay with today. Like that's always the mentality. Even like some of the jumping stuff we're doing now. Some days my knees, you wake up and you're like, they are a little unhappy with what we did yesterday. But you know what? It's um not anything particularly worrisome. It's just giving me some data that like we worked hard yesterday. And I mean, I'm 30, gonna be 35, not that that's old, but like I'm not 20 anymore, so stuff feels different when you do these things. But like again, the capacity that I think what have we been in this block 3 weeks? The capacity of my knees already is like, well, geez. Like just imagine if you had decided week number one, like, oh, this is too much, and you didn't keep trying. Just imagine where you'd still be if you didn't say, oh, let's just give it a try and see. That's just such an amazing mentality to have.
I love that. That is, and I think sometimes too, like the mental growth of all of this, like obviously, but like the mental, the physical, but like I do think the mental is really like, and again, it's the thing you can't really see. It's the thing that's very internal, but I think that really just changes how you live your life and make choices and
Yes.
all that sort of stuff. So I think that's like so empowering because I think your obviously your mentality is also going to like bring your physical along with it, right? Because if you're always telling yourself I can't do that, I shouldn't do that, of course you're like not going to actually take action. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
no, I'm glad that you're really like it's this very sort of full body, mental, physical, emotional sort of like
Yes.
transformation, it sounds like.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you speak to, okay, so what would you say to someone who thinks that, yeah, virtual like wouldn't be enough, like it wouldn't get them that sort of transformation just because it's virtual versus like
Right.
someone wanting
I guess
someone like in the room with them?
I guess I would challenge them as to their thinking why they think someone needs to be in the room with them to do something right. Like um some of that almost seems like they need that as the motivation, like I guess in this case, like if the money you paid is not a big enough motivation, then I don't know what to tell you, like that for me was in the beginning was a little bit too. It's like you paid for this, so you better, you're gonna stick with this because you paid for this. Um, but I don't know. Um I don't see how it would be much different doing it virtually versus in person because as long as you are putting aside the time to do it in your day, treat it like another meeting on your calendar or something like that to set aside that time. Um, you know, if you have questions, you can ask in the moment. Yeah, I suppose you're not going to get an answer from you because I can't just call you up and, hey, help me with this. But like I said, that reply time, by the time I come back to that movement, I'm going to have had an answer from you that is going to help me fix whatever question I had. Your videos that you put on there are, like I said, are very helpful. Um, I find them perfectly adequate to show me how to do something. So I've never felt that having you in the room with me would make it any better. Like maybe not to discount you at all, Shannon, but like having a person in the room with me, I don't know that that would change anything. Like I think the way the program is built, it's very intuitive. It's easy to use the app. It's easy to fill in anything, comments that you have about how things are going, or list your weights that you use. Like it's pretty easy to use as long as you're a tech savvy phone user. Like it's it works really well, and I think for a person who doesn't have the in-gym option, what more could you ask for? It works really well.
It's awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like too, it just kind of fit into your, yeah, like your life a little bit more, right? Because I think a lot of your goals definitely related to like, I want to be able to like do this with my kid, do household things, you know what I mean? So it's like what a great sort of environment to already sort of start off in, where it's like you're doing things in the place that you're already doing things, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and as long as you can like, right, follow directions, and yes, maybe it's a little bit of like you got to watch the videos and kind of learn, but like it's not necessarily the model or the proximity of us like being close together that is a make or break. It comes down to probably just more of the actual like programming and sort of planning and collaboration around like again gathering the data and then having you give you some sort of like strategy and guidance that you just follow through on
Yeah. Yeah.
perhaps.
Do you give people who have access to a gym who are doing your workouts in a gym different looking like videos and workouts than someone who is just at home with home equipment?
Ooh, good question.
Like, is that something you talk with people about? Like, where are you doing these?
Yes, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I think definitely I would imagine at some point in my conversation, if they do decide to move forward, yeah, I'm asking, okay, like, yeah, what do you have access to? Or do you have weights at home? Do you have access to a gym? That sort of thing. So yeah, the programming might for sure sort of kind of tweak or change depending on, yeah, what they have access to and where this is going to take place most of the time. So I know that's
Yeah.
something I'm trying to kind of get more clear on too. Like, not to say that I only exclusively want to work with people who like want to do this at home, sort of thing. Because I do have a few people that like have access to a gym in like their apartment building, or like there's a gym that they do like going to. But I guess even what's the word? Like trying to just to get more specific about like, who, yeah, potentially an ideal client, like what do they have access to, I guess like that sort
Right.
of thing I
Right.
think is useful. Do you feel like, and it sounds like too, I mean, like you are a pretty oh, what's the word? Yeah, like motivated person. It's like I can give
Yeah.
you the sort of like resource and plan, and it's like you're gonna go do it, I guess, like sort of situation, which I think is, probably ideal from this setting. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
do you feel
You
like
have
there
to be
was,
you
oh,
have to be kind of self-starter.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you're like if you need more of a stick to get going, then maybe it isn't the platform for everybody.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
you're gonna be a self-starter, it works really well.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I like how you brought up too. I mean, you come from at least like somewhat of a athletic background, so it's not like you're super foreign to like, some variations of movement and exercise. So yeah, maybe for a true like okay, like beginner that maybe has never even like played a sport or just have never really had that experience, this could be like, yeah, for sure like a big jump.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Um, did you feel like, yeah, this sort of program process like helped you, yeah, like stay consistent even with being like busy parent? I know sometimes you're like even a solo parent, at times, work demands, things like that. Do you feel like it kind of, yeah, kind of meshed nicely?
I think so. I know you and I haven't necessarily talked about that much, but every once in a while I'll just shift a workout from Monday to Tuesday or Friday to Saturday or whatever life throws at me and for the week. I might make some adjustments. I know, every week maybe aren't going to get all the workouts in. I try really hard to make it happen because, now I know the progress that is made by being consistent. But, you go on vacation and like we went to Colorado for how many days? And I don't think I did anything while I was there, but you're still walking and doing things while you're on vacation. So I didn't feel necessarily bad about it. But um, that was kind of a mental reframing there though too of like I should really be doing something while I'm on vacation.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. But I think again for me, a lot of my motivation around being consistent was I needed to show up for me because I was making this investment in myself. And um, I was serious about wanting to be better. And so it was important to show up when you had things scheduled for me. So,
Yeah.
and that's probably not going to be the case for everybody. Like I said, everyone's motivations are a little different, but for me, it was, you've got to put aside the time for yourself, and you've got to show up for it. You've got
Hmm.
to at least, maybe you aren't gonna get through all of it, right? Maybe it's only one round today because the kid woke up early, and that's just, the evening's not gonna happen. But you at least got to make an effort to show up and try to do something.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I guess, did you have any concerns about like being consistent, fitting it in,
I
that
didn't
sort
feel
of
that
thing?
pressure from you at all.
Okay. Yeah.
That was never something that I was worried about. Like you being like, "Hey, why aren't you doing this?" Like that was. I don't think you ever would have done that. My like I said, I think I was just so motivated to find something that worked that made me feel better. And then once I realized how much better I was feeling, it wasn't hard to continue to do that because you were seeing the results, and that was the motivation to keep showing up.
Love that. So what would you say to someone who's afraid that they like don't have time or they're not going to be super consistent? What would you say to that person?
Um, I don't know, how bad do you want it, right? How bad do you want it? Because if you don't want it that bad, then you're not going to make time for it. But yeah, there's days you don't want to be there, but you're going to feel better after you've done it. You're going to be proud of yourself for showing up. And like I said, maybe you only did two things, but you're still going to be proud that at least you did two things. That's two things more than before.
Hmm.
And that's still something. That still matters. And I think that's also part of building the consistency is not being so worried about finishing the whole thing. I don't think in my case, the 20, 30 minutes, that's all the time that I need to do all of the rounds that you've got written for me for the day. And like I said, some days I get interrupted and I only get 15 minutes, or I just decided to sleep and I only gave myself 15 minutes. And knowing that it's still okay. It still counts. Like the imperfect is just as important as the perfect. Again, that mental shift of not putting so much pressure to be exactly 100% perfect every time, especially in the beginning. That's probably the most important thing for folks is you can be a little messy and still be building to get that consistency, right?
I love that actually. You can be messy and still make progress and still see
Right.
results, right? It doesn't have to be
Right.
this like perfect 100%, sort of thing all the time, which is pretty cool. If you think about it, it's like maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't require, right? It sounds like it doesn't actually require as much. Obviously, I want to say effort from okay, like yes, exercises can be hard and it can be hard, especially when you're tired and yeah, you got a kid, on top of you and stuff like that.
Mommy.
But but it sounds like again, it doesn't take as much maybe time and like I don't know, endless amounts of energy and effort to still actually get the result that you want.
Right. Right. I think a lot of people come in with the mentality that, like, I need to do 6 days a week in the gym, lift for an hour, and that's how I'm going to get what I want. I suppose maybe you'd see results faster if you put in more time. That's probably not the case for everybody, depending on what's going on and what you want to do. But yeah, I think for me, like the 3 days a week has proved to be more than sufficient to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah,
It doesn't
absolutely.
take an hour at the gym. So what is that? An hour and a half a week is all I spend lifting. That's it.
Yeah. And to me, that's pretty like, I think, right? Working smarter, not harder, right? Like, what's the least amount of effort actually we can put into something to get the
Right.
result that we
Yeah.
want? Not, I think sometimes we forget too, even with physiology, that like more isn't always better. Like, it's not actually going to get us there faster, even. Um, which is right? It seems that seems very counterintuitive to kind of like what we would imagine things to kind of transpire. But I think we know more and more that, like, right, you said, there's no quick fixes to this, right? Like, it's like you can't really do much to actually speed things up, right? Physiologically. Like, we know it takes time. We know it takes your body time to acclimate. We know it takes your body time to kind of get used to things. So again, like we can't really do much to speed it up. I think there's a lot you can do to like potentially slow it down for sure, right? And that's part of like just not doing anything and
Right.
like, you know, putting zero effort in. But hopefully, yeah, like I love how you even said like, yeah, even just 3 times a week with like 30 minutes is sufficient enough, which is pretty incredible actually to think
Right.
about.
Right.
Um,
That's
doesn't
not a lot of
actually,
time.
yeah,
That's
tr so true, right? And like honestly, I mean, yeah, maybe there are, like you said, maybe there are people who love going to the gym 6 days a week and have the time and capacity and energy to do that and like hey, all the more power to them. But I just know a lot of like, hey, busy parents and professionals and people just don't have that sort of like access and that's okay. That shouldn't disqualify you from like being able to get the results that you do want. But I think that points to more and more that, okay, what maybe is the kind of um, differentiator is just like the things that you're actually
yes,
doing,
the
right? Within
program.
that sort of time
Mhm.
period that you do have. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm glad it sounds like we're finding very much just sort of the good mixture of things that get you the result that you want in a very sort of like short time frame. So,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
awesome. All right, one more question. Two more questions,
Okay.
maybe. Um, okay, why do you think this actually worked for you when other things didn't?
Mm. Um, the other things that I tried definitely didn't bring pain into the conversation. Like, not to say that that's your bread and butter, but you have a lot of knowledge that you can pass on about pain and the complexity around pain and how to tease all of that apart to then start making some progress. And like the one program I was doing before was like, oh, your back hurts, then you shouldn't be doing that. You and I definitely did the same things, just a little differently. But they that whole like pain is a hard stop was kind of the message that I was getting from the things I was doing before. And that's not how you operate, right? Um, so like using your stoplight mentality, like, is this a green pain? Is this a red pain? Is this just a yellow? Maybe, like I bet you I've never had anything that was red. Like I would have earlier on how I was defining pain would have said everything that was happening was like, we're done, we're stopping, red light, hard stop. And like maybe I've had some lingering that we might call yellow, but for the most part it was like green. This is just your body saying we did something. It's reminding you did something. It's a little angry, but it's not broken. It's not something really bad. We can keep moving. We're just going to use this as some data and tweak some things and move forward. And like that is such a different approach than anybody else that I follow on Instagram or that I've used before. So I think that that's really been the key to help me to get through that 2 months of starting of like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? Just believe in the process and it'll carry you through. Like it really did for me anyway.
That's amazing. Yeah. Just that's just such a different perspective, such a different sort of, yeah, mentality when it comes to like interpreting, I guess, what pain is. And yeah, like you said, it's complex, it's messy, it doesn't, I think again, our sort of what's the word? Yeah, like it takes some time to kind of reframe your understanding of like how to interpret, that sort of stuff. But I think to give you maybe some more sort of maybe yeah, like framework to follow, right? Like the green, yellow, red traffic light, and even maybe the regulating or not, sorry, not regulating, but tracking the like exertion and intensity, that those sorts of like maybe tools too, just gives you a lot more sort of yeah, context and nuance, beyond just like, oh, this hurts, like I shouldn't do this, right? Like, I just think that's very superficial way to kind of like approach it, where again, we know that pain is pretty deep and it's complex, and it's like we maybe have to have a deeper level sort of understanding and conversation around that. So it sounds like, yeah, this sort of allowed that yeah, ongoing conversation, probably, when these things popped up to actually happen and transpire and move us forward versus, right, if you were in a, I don't know, just regular office and like you're only there for, I don't know, 20 minutes and it's like you're trying to ask all these questions and get
Yeah,
this solved, but it just, yeah, it's hard to kind of address this stuff when it's like you just don't even have the, um, yeah, time, capacity, resources to even really put into it. So.
right, right, right.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing. I'm thinking in like one sentence, maybe two sentences, if you
Boy.
can. Like, I guess, how would you describe this process like just to some random person on the street? Like, if someone asked you, I don't know, like, can you just describe this in like one or two sentences? What would you say?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up because I have a friend who's got a lot of complex things going on, and we have talked a few times about what I've done because we've got some similarities, but she's got a whole lot more going on than I do.
Mm,
And I would say that this process is meeting you where you're at and just opening the door to what is possible, like teasing apart pain and mental, blocks are not necessarily, like um helping you challenge you mentally on what you think or why you do what you do. Um but yeah, just I've got like 5 sentences now, Shannon, but
yeah, that's okay.
it really is just the meeting you where you're at and like I said, opening a whole new realm of possibilities when you trust the system
Hmm.
that you put in place.
Yeah. I love that. No, I think that's a really good way to put it. Um, yeah, because I feel like if you want to get to somewhere where you've never been before, it's like you kind of have to do the things you've never done before.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe that's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that'd be a good way of putting it. Yeah. And trust someone who's able to get you there or has been there. So
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna pause, stop. Oh no, I'm just gonna let this keep going, actually.
sure, sure.
Cool. Well, no, I just want to say thank you so much. I think that was awesome, actually. I think you said some really great things. So I'm excited to be able to kind of go back through this recording and kind of take bits and pieces. So I just
Mhm.
obviously want to get your permission. It's okay for me to use, obviously, this
Yes.
recording.
Yes. Yes.
So you might
I do
pop
have
up on,
I do have one more thing that I
yeah.
wanted you to make
Oh,
recorded so that
yes.
you can like play it on the days that you're feeling down about things. But I often wonder what my life would look like if I hadn't met you or found you on Instagram because I talk to my husband all the time about like I used to lay on the couch because my back hurt and I couldn't hold my 18-month-old son. And now I can like kettlebell swing my 36-pound 4-year-old and feel just fine. Yeah, it makes me cry too
Yeah.
because it's absolutely incredible how you've helped me build from where I was to now. It is incredible. I wish everybody had a Shannon in their life because it's meant the world to me. So,
Wow. Oh my God. Now I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Now that's a clip I'm probably definitely gonna use. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
No,
Absolutely.
I will definitely be saving that. And for sure, I will have to play that, especially when I'm feeling like I'm not doing the right things and things are,
Yeah.
hard and, you're kind of going through it. But no, like, thank you so much for even just, again, investing in me, investing in yourself, and like just kind of, yeah, entrusting me with this whole journey. And no, I'm just so excited for like, yeah, to continue to kind of work with you and build on things. And I'm just so excited for like what's to come for you. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
just think
Oh my
about
gosh.
that conversation we had in December about how like yeah, I still have back pain, right? Like it's probably with me, but we've managed it to a point where it's no longer ruling my life. And that's what more could you ask for, right? I'm sure it can continue to get better, but like we've made so much progress. And to think that like when we talked in December, like we're thinking of different goals. I'm thinking of different goals for me now than what I came to you a year ago with. And that to me is just like I just remember sitting in that meeting with you and going, oh my gosh, we actually like we met the goal. We've met the goal. That's incredible. I never thought that I could say that about my back. It's amazing.
I love
Absolutely amazing.
that. I love that. No, and I think that that is kind of yeah, like yeah, like when you get deeper into this and again start to really like see that progress and process, I feel like your brain starts to kind of bring you places that again like you've never been before too. So I think again that is just kind of the like the icing, yeah, on top of the cake. It's like obviously we're people have the certain, one goal, I guess, in mind, but then like once you actually get there, it's like, oh, I get to even like dream bigger and think bigger. Like what could I do? You
Right.
know? So I
Right.
think that's
Never
like
thought I could do that. Yeah,
so
that's
inspiring. So inspiring. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna go cry.
okay.
I know I obviously would love to keep going, but I do have a call I gotta get to.
Yes,
But
yes.
like,
I know it's 11.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
I
And we'll catch up soon.
appreciate it. Yes. Take
Cool.
care.
Bye.